Welcome everybody. So today we are talking with Kristin Mays and Monica Benya from recRoom. And Kristin and Monica were students at SCAD not long ago. For that matter, I have some of their work over here, and I was nowhere near as ready as I thought I was. And so this is Monica. Monica worked with the rest of our group on a project that was called Needlepoint. And so these are some screenshots from Needlepoint, an absolutely gorgeous game that represented SCAD at E3 in 2019, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And then this is Kristin's work. And so Kristin worked on a game that's called Doggone Hungry. And Doggone Hungry won several prizes and is a school beloved project that was also that also represented SCAD at SIGGRAPH, if I'm not mistaken. And I can never resist showing Doggone Hungry art book because they did such a great job with their characters and their illustrations and things like that, that we ended up printing some of their work so that they could go to the employer with something to show for it. So Kristin and Monica are both working at recRoom, and today they are going to talk about their experience finding their first job or second job for some. And I think they will be also talking about the difficulties, the challenges, and then the solutions that they set in place working from home with the rest of their team. And now I'm just going to shut up and let you speak. The floor is yours.
Hello.
Hi.
Let me share my screen for a quick second. Full screen, everything, share. Or wait, question. Can you guys see your little guys on the side? You see that as well? Or is this good?
No, we're good.
Okay. So recRoom and working remotely is kind of what we're going to be going over of what's it like to work at recRoom. I've been working there for about a year. Monica's been working for about a month, I believe. So like
2 months.
Yeah, 2 months, 2 months. And we'll be going over that, working from home during the plague times, aka our global pandemic, and getting a new job during the plague times. But first, who is everyone? We do have quite a bit of people in here. But do you think we have enough time, Gouchard, to go through everyone? To just give
Absolutely.
like a... Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Let's see. I need a list of everyone. Gouchard, would you mind going through
Absolutely,
everyone?
absolutely not. Well, maybe Bridget, do you want to start with introducing yourself?
Okay, I'll figure it out. I'm Bridget. I'm a senior now in game development, obviously. And I guess, should I say what I'm focusing in?
Yeah.
Or, okay. I mainly do like hard surface modeling and asset modeling, but I do texturing and I dabble in character, but that's mostly like on the side.
Fun.
Awesome.
Okay. Sarah, your turn.
Oh, hello. Well, I'm also game dev senior, so old, and I'm into environment art, but I'm being drafted for character art for Studio 2, so it's gonna be cool. I like those two things, and I'm a huge nerd, so I'm sorry, Professor Gouchard, for all of the Lovecraft stuff.
Are you kidding me? I live for that stuff.
Never be sorry.
Noah, it's your turn.
All right, hello. I'm a junior here at SCAD. I don't really know what I want to specialize in just yet, but I guess right now I'm pretty good jack of all trades. Some of the things that I enjoy working on are music, concept art, and game design.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm a senior ITGM major. I mostly do like prop modeling, assets and stuff, texturing, things like that.
Ryan.
Hello, I'm Ryan. I'm also a senior at SCAD and studying game design, and I have decided recently I'm leaning towards a career path of like technical art, so like shader development, material blueprinting, and creature design.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Brian.
Hi. Uh-oh. Is it not registering my
No,
mic?
you're good.
No, we
Can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Okay. Okay, good. I didn't see the little box light up green, but yeah, I am a senior here at SCAD in both animation and game design, so I've been here for 5 years. I kind of do a little bit of everything, but recently I really like to specialize in modeling and texturing. I especially like to do characters.
Cool.
So.
Joe, your turn.
Hey, what's going on? Joe. Your average Joe. I'm a senior here at SCAD. I live in a room with another Joe, so when people are like, what's going on in that room, it's like, whatever. I'm a senior here at SCAD as well. I specialize mostly in environment art, but I'm very crafted at like a lot of stuff. And that's kind of it. I'm just a big gamer nerd, so any gaming related stuff like League, WoW, anything like that, I'm all for it.
All right. Cindy.
Hey everyone, I'm Cindy. I love all environment stuff and I love realistic stuff and look development and all that. And actually, Monica, I don't know if you remember me, but I think during Rising Star,
Rising Star.
you like mentored me for a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, you actually like told me to go into game design. So
Oh my
thank you.
God, I'm so
in game
happy
design
you
now.
did.
So.
And they just
So
got
thank
their
you for that
beautiful corner
direction.
today, and it was good.
Mhm.
Yay.
So,
That's incredible. I'm very proud of you.
Thank
right,
you. But good to
Bradley.
see you.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally remembered you for the record.
Bradley, you're muted.
Oh, you want me to? Okay.
Of course.
Hi, I'm Bradley. I'm an alumni from ITGM, and I'm an environment artist. Currently doing some contract work. Yeah.
Nai, your turn.
Oh yeah, hey, my name's Nye. I've only been SCAD here. I teach now for about a month. I am a technical animator and a cinematographer for, I did a lot of pre-visualization moving into the Unreal Engine, that kind of stuff. But I'm a fan. I think there's not a lot of great VR content yet, but you guys doing some great stuff. So
Thank you.
looking forward to hearing. Yeah.
Awesome. Jasmine.
Hello, I'm Jasmine, and I'm a C1 major. I'm a junior, and I want to do comic books.
That is awesome.
And I'm minoring in game development.
Awesome. Jeff.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So hi, I'm a SCAD senior student. It's like most of the people here. And I'm currently living in Savannah and try to study about the ZBrush and Maya, as the 3D artist, try to make some good assets for my portfolio, for my future plan. By the way, just letting you guys know, I'm not going to stay here for long since I made an appointment with health clinic today around 3 o'clock. So,
okay.
Professor, is there a way you can send me the record of this?
I will post the record. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. It is nice to meet you all, and I really hope we can find a really good information or some good ideas during this Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Shelby. You're muted. Shelby, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, cool. Hi. I graduated 2019 and I'm just kind of editing my portfolio and applying for jobs and hoping to learn a little bit about y'all's job at recRoom today.
Cool. Dixon?
Howdy folks, my name's Dixon and I graduated SCAD this past spring and I now work at Manticore Games in the marketing department specializing in educational, nonprofit, and art outreach.
Awesome. And then Andrew.
Hey, I'm Andrew. I'm also an ITGM major and I'm focusing mainly on environment art and level design.
Very cool. And if I am not mistaken, that's everybody, right?
Seems right.
Okay. Well, the floor is back to yours.
Cool. So now that we know everyone, here is a little bit about me. I'm Kristin Mays. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn. Feel free to friend me on ArtStation if that's a thing you want to do, like anywhere. I don't care. I'd be happy to talk to you. We're both very friendly people. I'm a 3D generalist. I focus on primarily stylized art. I love hand painting. I have some of my works at the bottom. I just finished the blonde-haired woman who's Monique from Animal Crossing.
A queen.
Yes, thank you. I went to SCAD wanting to do 2D concept art, and you know how in the ITGM major, you're kind of forced to try 3D art. I ended up falling in love with it, and now it is my job because I love it so much. It is also my hobby. I'm not tired of it yet, which is pretty awesome. When I graduated, I interned at Big Huge Games in Maryland for half a year, and then I got a job at recRoom. The two little buildings that I have on this screen are the ones that I did at Big Huge Games, and the other two are just personal projects that I did.
Hi, everyone. Monica Benya. You also feel free to add me on LinkedIn, Facebook, ArtStation, and reach out if you need anything from a critique to just some feedback, or if you have any questions in general. So I'm a 3D generalist with a focus on props and characters. I have a love of stylized and cute art, and I worked at a themed entertainment company in Florida as a generalist for about a year, and then on the side I did freelance character work before landing at recRoom. And down below are some of my examples of stuff. I did a cute little fish shop, a sphere challenge that I did in a weekend. Oh, thank you. And then I did this character in like, it was part of the rookies, and I remember like super not wanting to do it because I didn't have enough time, and then I like crammed it into 2 weeks, and now it's like one of my favorite pieces. So highly recommend any kind of competition that forces you to get your stuff in gear.
Yeah. And so what is recRoom? I personally had no idea what recRoom was before I even applied. I just saw the listing for a 3D artist, and I was like, oh God, I'm desperate. Let me apply to this. But recRoom is a cross-platform VR game. It really focuses on being social and creating your own games while also playing what we already provide. So strong focus on community. We're on a lot of platforms. We're on PS4, soon to be on Xbox. We're on iOS, Oculus, and Steam. So you can play VR or on screens. So basically anything you want. We have a stylized, pretty cute, soft, but sharp, fun art style that's very bright. We have a lot of natural tones in our style. We basically worship the rounded cube. The default rounded cube is like our god at recRoom. It is the perfect mix of soft and sharp.
It's very accurate.
Yes.
So what is it like to work at recRoom? So first of all, there's really, really high levels of trust, which basically means you're in charge of your own work. So when you are given a task, you're basically assumed to be good unless you specifically ask for help. But there's tons of help available if you need it. There's a really good community there, and people are super eager to help you out. We don't really like track time or anything like that. We're just given a task and assume that we got it. There's career growth, and multiple interests are super encouraged. So basically, if you're an artist, let's say, who also likes game design, you can be encouraged to give feedback or even more hands-on and actually do some game design work on the side as well. And there's a really, really super awesome understanding of work and life balance. So one of the awesome benefits is that you actually get unlimited time off, and they actually encourage you to use it too, which I think is a cool thing to have together. They know that like when you're rested and your mind is at ease, you're a much better artist and way more efficient. And we're a pretty small studio, but we're growing fast, and I'm really happy to be part of the team.
Yeah, when we first went into quarantine, we probably have like 20 more people that I don't even have seen in person. I just happened to already know Monica before then. But it's like, I don't know who half these people are. I've never seen them in person. But we're growing pretty fast. So working at recRoom remotely. we all had the kind of weird transition of, oh, it's only going to be 2 weeks, you know, like you'll be back and it'll be fine. Obviously, that didn't happen. It has been many, many months. And thankfully, our coworkers, the management at recRoom has been very kind and generous. The webcam I'm using right now is from recRoom because I didn't have a webcam. I didn't have a headset or anything, and recRoom was very kind to like provide me for one. I got more RAM because my computer's getting a little bit older. So they're very kind and understanding, and they know not everyone has some kind of high-tech gaming PC, which is super nice. I just happen to already have something. You can't see, but I have a giant tower that is a little bit clunky, but I love them. And since I was working at recRoom for a couple months before we all went remote, I can confidently say working in-house is pretty similar to working remotely, besides the fact that you're not in an office. Schedules are pretty much the same, workload's the same. The only difference is you can't get up and tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, want to check out and give me some critique on this one art thing that I've posted? Now instead you have to go on Slack and you have to find the right channel and you have to like ping people and be like, hey, will you give me a critique on my like art, please? So that's like the biggest challenge of working remotely so far, but otherwise it's largely the same minus free coffee. And then the last part is kind of not related to recRoom, but mostly just focusing on yourself, is to get organized while you're working at home. If your home life is messy, like my desk needs to be clean, otherwise I'm going to feel more stressed. I use this little notebook here to keep track of all my tasks so I don't forget things. But it's super important to have a place in your home that can be dedicated to working, that you can keep organized so you know, like, this is my nice, happy place that I can do my work.
So what was it like to start at recRoom remotely? I was pretty nervous to start because I was like, okay, this means I'm going to have to be trained remotely. I'm going to have to start doing work remotely. I don't know. I won't have any sort of like point of reference about how well I'm doing, if I'm going too slow. I just had like a lot of anxiety about starting a job like without meeting anyone. Luckily, Kristin was there, so that was really nice to have somebody I knew. But first of all, I think recRoom did a really, really good job onboarding me, and here's why. So first of all, I had a designated onboarding buddy, and that was absolutely like beyond incredible. So Lainey is not only fantastic, but she's a great onboard buddy. She like the first week I would stay on Slack with my screen shared, and she would show me where to click in Unity and like, this is how you import. And like, I never, like, she took me from like the beginning to the end of the process. So I never felt dumb. And I never felt like I asked any like questions that were going to be received poorly. And in general, it was just really nice having a designated person that I could go to and not feel like I was bothering them. Like, you signed up for me, I could bother you.
Yeah.
And then figuring out a schedule that works for everyone was something that we had to do. So I'm on the East Coast. So I live in Virginia, but recRoom's in Seattle. So obviously there's a 3-hour time difference. So we figured out a schedule where I could work, so I wouldn't go crazy working late in the night, but also like I would overlap with enough people. And they were really flexible working with me to figure that out. And then I also had 2 one-on-ones with our art director within the first month to check in on me, which was really cool. He asked a lot of questions about like the onboarding process, if I felt like I wasn't being supported in certain areas, if I had any feedback. I just felt like really listened to. And most importantly, I asked a million questions. I think the biggest advice that I could give if you're starting a job remotely is just ask a question. Like, I don't have a lot of shame with that in general, but like, I can understand if you do and you feel like you're bothering people, it can be difficult to ask, but I assure you it will save time and a headache overall to ping someone and ask for a direct question rather than wasting hours trying to figure it out yourself or complicating things overall. So, and people want to help you. They understand you're in a weird position. And so just ask a million questions.
So working remotely, just in a general sense, you don't want to end up like the little shrimp that we have on our beautiful little PowerPoint, which is kind of currently where I'm at.
Yes.
And you don't want to end up like the dad from Coraline looking sad at your like dusty computer in your dusty room. It's super important to set boundaries for your work-life balance. And this goes even if you don't have a job right now at the moment, your job is like working on your portfolio. It's super important to separate your life from your work, to know that you have an identity outside of your work and don't let your work become your identity. I mean, if you're super passionate about it, that's super great. I love the work that I do at recRoom. But it's super tempting, especially remotely. Your work computer that would have been in the office is now your home computer. And so your home is your workspace now. It can be tempting when you see a Slack message, late at night. Oh, maybe I should reply to that. Maybe I should get this done, 7 p.m. But that's not necessarily a healthy thing to do. It's really good to designate hours to that and let yourself just live outside of those hours, especially during a pandemic where you can't necessarily go outside and do all the things that you used to do. Like I'd love to go out, do all the things, like go to a coffee shop and sit down. Can't do that right now. You got to work around that. But a strong separation of a work-life balance is really good, and it's a good thing to start, even if you don't have a job yet. Get a hobby that takes you away from your computer is another super important thing. My hobby has always been digital art, so even after work, I just stay on the computer or I'll go and play games, and that's just me looking at a different screen, just in a different place, which also is not healthy. And I know there's a lot of fun things on the internet and a lot of fun things to do at your desk, but it's super important to find something that gets you outside. Again, we're in a pandemic. My friend Dana got me into buying plants. So that's, I guess, my hobby right now. And then baking. I think Monica's into roller skating.
Yep, taught myself how to roller skate.
Yeah, roller skating, gardening, baking, swimming, walking. Literally do anything you can, even if it's just for an hour, away from the computer. So you're not killing yourself, super important. Again, be sure to get up and move a few times a day, whether it's just getting water, a snack, or just stretching. We're not getting any younger. I know I personally am in my 20s, but I need to stretch. I can feel it. I'm 23. I'm basically 55. Working at a desk job, it's different, really be sure to take care of your personal health, whether it's mental or your physical health. Same thing goes for managing expectations of yourself. I know a lot of people have already graduated and they don't have a job yet, but they're super worried. They're hard on themselves, but it's like you're doing everything that you can to get to a better place, and that's super important, and you should go easy on yourself. You shouldn't put yourself down, say, I don't have this done, or this isn't how I want it to be. You just need to take it one step at a time, find a goal for yourself, and slowly take steps to get to that goal. Things aren't always going to go the way you want it to, but it's super important that you're just at least taking steps to get there and to go easy on yourself, because we are in a global pandemic. Mm-hmm. That also goes with checking in on yourself. So your physical and mental health is super important. It's way more important than any job you can get, is to take care of yourself and check in on your friends, your family, people you just generally care about, because we can't necessarily gather in big groups, have parties anymore. So it's like, just send a message out, maybe check in on people that also work in the industry. It's like you can just be mindful and take care of yourself.
And so now, job hunting during the pandemic. After all of that, apply to everything that you see, even if you think it's out of your reach. Like, one thing I would always tell myself is I'm not going to tell myself no before I get told no by someone else. So basically, like, I'm going to let this company decide to reject me. I'm not going to reject myself before I even apply. And I've actually gotten really far into opportunities that I thought were genuinely impossible just because I threw in the application. So always apply. During this time, like online branding is even more important than it was before. There won't be an in-person interview. So because of that, like your presence online and your presence in an interview is a lot more important. I was basically given a bunch of video interviews in exchange for being flown out. So I think I had about 8 or 9 hours of interviews with recRoom that was all like video, but it was essentially, they tried to turn the in-person interview into online, and it was really wonderful, but it was a very different experience. Be sure to reach out to others and don't be afraid to ask for critique or advice. That's a huge thing, is like right now, if there aren't any opportunities presenting themselves, that in itself is an opportunity to work on your art and yourself. And you can do that by reaching out to people. This industry is super nice. That is one of the greatest things about this industry, is like we genuinely just want to help each other and make cool stuff. So don't feel bad reaching out to people. Even if you think they're like a really cool artist, like they will most likely give you their time and be really flattered that you reached out to them. And critique is vital. No one's work is above it. If you feel like you don't need a critique, you probably do. Never give up. Like resilience is key. Like that is so true. Not only like that being, so one thing that I learned is that like a rejection has so little to do with you. Like it has so much to do with the situation at the company, just timing. A big one that I've learned too is that a no can often mean not now, not like never. So like I applied to the internship at Big Huge Games and I was rejected, but then I was reached out to in May to do freelance character work, or March. And I've done 5 characters for them since. So when they said like, no, we're okay, but we'll keep you in mind, like they actually did. So like, don't get yourself too down on a rejection and try not to take it personally. Like I know it's incredibly difficult to, especially when you pour your heart and soul into an application, but like it has very little to do with you and a lot to do with luck and timing.
Mm-hmm. And continued, my biggest thing is to remove old work from your portfolio. I have maybe half of my student projects, or half of my portfolio currently are student projects, and the other half are things I've made in my own personal time. The classic cliche saying your portfolio is only as strong as your weakest piece, it's unfortunately kind of true. Like if you have an old student project that you're like, it's kind of fine, it shows like that I know how to do this one thing, but it's not so great in another place, people are going to notice that, even if you think they're not going to. You want to use schoolwork for learning and apply those to your personal projects. I had, of course, the classic SCAD building and SCAD car model on my portfolio, and they were really useful to learn programs, and they were super useful to learn new techniques, but they weren't necessarily a display of my skill. Not that they were bad, but it didn't help me at all by having them on my portfolio. So if you remove them, remove your weaker projects, keep your strong ones. And this doesn't mean you can't have your schoolwork on there at all. You can totally have schoolwork on there. I still have my senior project that Gouchard showed earlier. It's just kind of trim the fat of your portfolio, make sure what you're showing is something you're super proud of. And then if it leaves you with nothing on your portfolio, that gives you the perfect opportunity to use what you've learned to make something completely new. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy big, as long as you're putting out something that you believe to be quality. Another super important thing is to pursue what you like, not just what you think you should be doing. There were a lot of times when I was job hunting, I was thinking, I should be doing this technique, or I should be doing these things because that's what's going to get me a job, or that's what I think will get me a job. But in reality, people are going to be able to tell if you're liking what you're doing. Like if my portfolio was a bunch of hard surface modeling, people would be able to tell that I don't like doing it. Instead, they can see that looking at my portfolio, I like things that are soft, I like things that are bright and hand painted. so people can tell what you're passionate about. Most of the times you'll find a place where you can apply your skill and your likes, unless what you like is super weird, which is like there's something out there for you, I guarantee it. So be sure to just pursue what you know you like, and things will follow. Another thing, super important, is to focus on honing your communication and time management skills. I feel like those are the most important things when getting a job, minus portfolio and minus your work. You need to be a really good communicator, especially because you're going to be having, virtual meetings, virtual interviews. You need to be able to communicate to people and explain to people why you did certain things in your portfolio. You need to be able to present yourself in a way that is friendly and bubbly, but also keep your true personality. Time management skills are also super important. Obviously, in college, you have to work on both communication and time management anyways. But I also think it's super important for getting a job, for job hunting, because sometimes you only get one chance at a place, and it's really good to make a great first impression. So if you think that those are things that you need to work on, or maybe you're not so great talking about yourself, it's really important to put yourself in situations where you can practice those or work on them. In high school, if I had to present something, if I had to do like a little talk online, I probably would have thrown up and cried. So it's like really important to work on those. Like now, I don't throw up and I don't cry, so that's great.
Until after.
Yeah, until after. I'll go throw up and I'll cry after this. But that's basically like a casual overview of what we see for recRoom, and how we think about like working remotely. So we have a nice Q&A slide so people can ask us more intricate questions, because we just kind of did like a nice little overview.
Yeah, and if we didn't cover something that you have a question about, feel free to ask it too. It does not have to be limited to this presentation.
And if you don't want to ask anything during this presentation, ask us on LinkedIn, ask us wherever.
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then that's a good segue to remind everybody that they are both on Discord. They are both on our server, so they are there all the time. For that matter, Monica is a co-administrator of my server, so when I'm not there, she has the ban power.
Yeah. So be nice.
How do you feel with that great responsibility?
With great power comes great responsibility. Yeah.
Okay, so do we have any questions? Anybody? Go for it. This is the time. Cindy?
I was just wondering if there's anything specific that you guys like felt challenged by during the pandemic while working remotely. Like there's a lot of good and there's a lot of there's a lot of pros and cons, because you get to be in sweatpants, but you don't get to interact with people as much. So, like, is there anything specifically that you feel like has been a bit more of a challenge for you to overcome during all this?
I have something. Or do you have something, Monica?
Go for it.
The reason why I'm in California right now is because my Seattle apartment is a studio, and it is one room. I live with my boyfriend, who also has a job, so it is 2 desks in one room, both of us on calls. Is very unpleasant. The way I solved that was driving all the way down to California, so I could stay at his parents' house for a little bit, and I'm working on getting a different apartment in Seattle. It's basically like I scrambled and did everything I could to get out of the situation that made me unhappy, because there are a lot of things that I wanted from life during a pandemic, and I didn't want to be confined to a single room.
Yeah.
I feel like that was my biggest struggle. I know not everyone has the opportunity to just drive away and get away from that space, but I desperately needed it. It's super important to me. It was the biggest thing for me to get out of just the confined space, because we are in a pandemic. So make sure if you can change it, definitely do it. Don't wait on saying, oh, I'll just deal with it, because you don't want to leave those things to deal with later. You'll just get sad.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
For me, I had a few. So when I first started working remotely at my previous job, I had a really, really hard time logging off at 6. I felt like I just wanted to continue working, and I also then had a struggle. I think we touched on it a little bit, but my work computer also was my like play computer, and like I felt like I couldn't even relax when I wanted to play games because it was like the computer that I had work on. And I was like, well, if I'm at my computer anyway, let me just check on my work, or, I never finished that or whatever. So I had a hard time like stepping away. And then more recently, after I got the job at recRoom, I moved in with my mom, so I didn't have to pay rent anymore. And I'm currently like working full time out of my childhood bedroom, which is like an interesting dynamic. Sometimes it's a little like imposter syndrome-y, where I feel like I'm in high school again, but like, no, I have a job and this is awesome. But at the same time, it's just like a weird like cognitive dissonance. And I also think that when I first started, I was like paranoid I wasn't like hitting the mark, because normally when you are at a studio surrounded by people, like you can see where your quality bar is. You can kind of see how long things are taking people. And I remember feeling like, well, if I'm not there, how will I know that I'm doing good enough? But it's really the same thing. You just see how quickly people are updating their stuff or like asking questions, or the quality bar is also there in front of you working from home. So those things kind of faded away over time. But at first I was like very in my head about that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Questions? Maybe you raise your hand. Oh, Nai, go for it.
Yeah, I have a question about what's it like to be at a studio that sort of focuses on like user generated? Like, do you have interaction with the community? Do you play their stuff? Is it more about like seeing what they want and a give and take? It just seems like a really interesting sort of dynamic in content development. I just thought it'd be interesting to hear more about your thoughts about that.
Yeah, we have a community team. They were actually players that we now hire for them to kind of be our bridge between the gap, so they can explain like how the community is feeling and also say how they're feeling as players. We also have company play days where we just play our own game, interact with the community. We have a Discord. We have a Reddit that we can talk to people. So it's pretty open communication. We have people specifically to develop the tools for UGC content. I'm not on that team. I don't know everything going through their head because it's much more technical than my artist brain can understand. But I do know we have people dedicated to making that better. We're always shipping something constantly to improve our experience. Right now, New Horizons is going to come out soon. Facebook's kind of VR thing, so we're gearing ahead for that. Quest 2 just launched, so we also made preparations for that. Yeah. Oh, do you have a Quest 2, Gushar?
Of course.
Ah, lovely. I hope you'll download recRoom.
Absolutely. I haven't opened it yet because I haven't had the time, but I'm going to play with it this weekend.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I don't know if I also said this, but recRoom's totally free. We make money with cosmetic items, so like I tend to make avatar items. Monica's also making avatar items. So whenever you buy those, you're putting money in my wallet. I don't know if I answered your question at all, but it is fun.
I was just curious, like, because it really seems really interesting to be or entering this world where both users are both creators and then artists sort of trying to reflect the community. So I was just wondering how it felt to kind of be in that sort of situation. But
it's really cool. As somebody who's like very new to recRoom, I had my mind pretty much blown this week. We had to do, or we didn't have to, you could sign up for contest judging. So we'll do these contests for different themes. This was like mystery themed, and users will make their own rooms, and they go through judging processes. And then if you're a dev, you can actually go through and see the room and judge it. And I was just blown away by like what people could do. It was super humbling and just super neat, because you think like, all right, well, user generated content, like that's going to be like pretty basic stuff. But like the things that people are doing in recRoom is like, it's environment art. There's like blueprinting, like it's gorgeous and it's super impressive. And I think what I really, really admire about recRoom is I think they take a lot of steps to enable the community and their art, as well as the artists who work at recRoom. So it's like both. They're not at arms, like we're on the same team, basically.
Any more questions? Anybody? Yeah, Julie.
I was just going to ask if there was anything that either of you wish you knew before going into the industry.
Do you want to go first, Monica?
Do you have an answer?
I have an answer on behalf of someone else.
Go ahead.
My boyfriend works with QA. We've had very different experiences with the industry. My experience is that has been very friendly and kind to me. You know, there's always the getting ignored or getting ghosted, but whatever. My boyfriend on the QA side, his job, it's been a little different. Well, can you remind me the question?
Just like something that like you wish you like knew about or knew more about before going into the industry.
It's gone.
I will take over. I wish okay, this is going to sound a little cheesy, but I kind of wish I knew my worth as an artist. Because I think, you know, when you're in school, you're like, I'm just a grunt, give me work, please, anything, I'll take it. And like, you know, it's almost like romanticized to like drive out to California in your car and like sleep in it. And like, yeah. And like, you got to take what you get. It's minimum wage. And like crunch is so cool. And none of that is cool. Like you are a professional and you have a task that you have honed and spent a butt ton of money and time working on this. And you are selling a service. Like you are a professional. And I feel like at the beginning, I let a lot slide as far as like my time and my like worth as a person and artist, because I was like, well, I'm just a lowly artist, I must accept it. And like really that is not the case. Like you should know your worth as a person and an artist, and you should find a place that treats you well. Like just because it's a job doesn't mean that it's like good enough. Like you should be picky too. And so like in an interview, ask them questions about their culture. Figure out if it's a place that you actually want to work too, because that will also make you seem a lot more attractive as a employee, because it's like, oh, this person actually cares where they work. They will contribute to this environment positively. Like this is somebody who knows that they're a professional. And I always found that to be like, once that shifted, I feel like I got a lot more opportunities that I felt a lot more at place with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's where my brain was trying to go.
We like mind
Thank you
melded.
for putting it so much nicer.
Of course.
Yeah, that was very helpful information. Thank you.
Of course.
Any more questions from anybody? Noah.
Was there any way that you guys got over like the fear or anxiety of applying yourself to interviews or internships or jobs online?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
I think this is do you mind if I take this one?
No, go.
You can
go ahead.
I think I had it up until I had a job, which is such a bad answer. Because like it's like one of those things where it's like you need money to make money, you need a job to get a job. But like I think ultimately that fear is like a lack of validation, and once you're validated, that fear goes away. But up to that point, I think I felt like I put my heart and soul into every application, and like each rejection was like crushing. And I feel like something that helped me towards the end was like realizing that it isn't personal. Like being on the other side of like inside of a studio when we have a position open, like the recruiting process is chaotic. It is like messy. It is like frantic, and it can often be like unorganized. And so we had to like on when I worked at Falcons, we had to recruit for a 3D artist position. We had people that we super wanted to hire, but they just weren't available to move immediately. So like location was a huge factor. Luckily now during the pandemic, that is much less of a factor. But like you could be rejected on something as simple as like you don't live 15 minutes away and can't come to the interview. Like I think separating yourself from the rejection and being like, I'm probably good enough right now. It's just there's a lot of other factors in the way, as well as taking time to reflect. And one thing that helped a lot too, I think, is after a rejection, you can send an email try not to make it awkward, but you can ask why. I've always had a lot of really positive interactions be like, hey, I really appreciated your time, but I was wondering if you could give me a little bit more information as to like why I wasn't selected for the position so I can improve and either apply again later or take this information. And I've always had super, super good conversations there. And I think that's a big part of the reason Big Huge Games actually ended up reaching out to me later for contract work, because I had that conversation with the art director and I took a lot of his advice and you could see it in my portfolio. So turn a rejection into a good thing.
For me, it's also just knowing that your art or programming or coding or your games is good enough, and go into your interview knowing that like I've got the skill that they want. I've made it this far. So obviously they see something about me that they like, and all you're trying to do basically at the interview's point is not only talk about your work and trying to sell them on that, but it's mostly just, is this person kind? Would this person fit in with the company, with other employees? Do they meld together? Like with recRoom, part of the interview is just like a culture fit. Like, do you kind of vibe with us? There's that whole thing. So I'd focus on really honing communication skills, just being open and friendly. Don't take things so seriously during an interview. I know it can be really tempting, but a lot of people in our industry tend to be casual. My first boss wore a Hawaiian shirt with flip-flops, and he was the CEO of the company. So it's just remind yourself that they are humans too. And you're human and you're just trying to talk about something and you already have the skill. So just like believe in yourself is basically it. You know, always tell yourself that you are good enough.
And one more quick thing to piggyback off of that, Kristin had a really good point. They're just people. So like when you apply to a studio, be like, I'm applying to make some friends. Like reframe it. It's not like these gods that like I am not deserving. Like it is, you're just like applying to a studio where maybe you can make some cool stuff and make some friends. Like maybe like reframing it in your head a little bit would help with the anxiety.
Awesome. Any more questions? Anybody? Yeah, Rain, go for it.
So on the topic of like working remotely, how do you like manage burnout and keep up motivation during it? Because boy, have I felt that at times.
I think it's super important again to try and separate your work life. My boyfriend, he's working on his personal project, but he also has a full-time job. So it's like carve out time specifically for your personal project. You know what hours you work at. And then don't let your projects bleed into your personal life. I know it can be super tempting. Like, I'm on a roll right now. I need to go, go, go. But you got to stop yourself sometimes, give yourself time, figure out what you really like doing, something that gives you a nice boost of serotonin. I love coffee. Whenever I make it in the morning, it makes me happier. It makes my day nice. Find small things that can give you those experiences. And don't overwork yourself, as tempting as it is. Time management's important. I know it can feel like if you don't get this one thing done, the world could come crashing down, but one more day is not a bad thing in most cases.
I would also say that like, oh, hang on. I had a train of thought and it just disappeared. Yeah, let yourself also burn out. Like, kind of like I don't mean like work yourself until you burn out. But what I mean is like, if you're burnt out, stop. Like, take a day. I learned to do nothing. But this is what the pandemic taught me, is it's for like the first few months at 6 o'clock, I would just turn off. Like I don't remember the first few months of the pandemic apart from work and just zoning out. And it was fantastic. Because like for the longest time, a lot of my like self-worth and self-identity came from my productivity. And I think that unfortunately that is extremely unhealthy in our current circumstances, because like before, there was a whole world out there that you could like physically separate yourself from your productivity, from your work, from everything. But now like it's kind of overwhelming. And I think, you know, one of the slides said to be nice to yourself and manage your expectations. Like you are not working from home. You are attempting to work during a global pandemic. And I think like just letting yourself breathe and trying not to force yourself to constantly produce and constantly be good enough by your own expectations will help a little bit. But advice, go ahead.
I will add on top of that, don't forget to sleep.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
I will
be nice to yourself.
It's part of the be nice to yourself. Yes. I will maybe close with a final question. So like a lot of the people right now are in Studio 1 and they are about to start Studio 2 next quarter, which is an experience you're both familiar with. Do you have any advice on how to approach their Studio 2 experience or their Studio 2 project in such a way that it will help them feel more ready for going into the wild and getting a job? Like, what's your take on that?
I would say keep things simple. I know it can be really common to want to do everything. You're like, this is going to be my final project for my portfolio. I want to show it off to the world. I want everyone to see this. I want it to be the most impressive thing ever. My senior game was not very complicated, and it also happened to be the things that people would ask about in interviews. Just make sure that the core of your project is something that you think is important or something that you think is friendly to show off, and don't overthink or overcomplicate things, and I think that you'll get a good result. Don't overextend yourself.
Also, I think you should work on something that like genuinely makes you happy. Like I think, Kristin, you guys knocked it out of the park with Doggone Hungry. Like we would always say that that's the game that we wish we made because it was just so fun and like everything about it was fun. And even like the art style, like consider what you want to be able to show off as far as like your art style and the kind of studios you think you're going to apply to. And I think the team is a really big part of the Studio 2 experience that a lot of people like don't necessarily think about. Like you want to work with people that share your interests. So for example, if like let's say 4 out of 5 people on the team want to do stylized, but one person doesn't, there could always like be some butting heads. Just like make sure that like you guys all want the same outcome, I would say, and then it'll be successful.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, well, I mean, do we have any lingering questions? This is the time. The window is about to close. Are you sure? No more questions? Okay, well, Monica, Kristin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
This was awesome. Yeah, a little bit a round of applause.
Oh wait, no. What I mean is at recRoom, when we close off our meetings, we do a 3, 2, 1 clap, and we all clap awkwardly at the same time, and it's fantastic.
Nobody likes it, but like I love it.
I love it too. We're not gonna let the clap die.
Let's give it a whirl. So we clap at 3.
Unmute yourselves.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah!
I see it was lagging. Okay.
Perfect.
Well, thank you very, very much. I will edit this and I will post the link online. Thank you all of you that showed up.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
And then see everybody on Discord. Okay.
Thank you. Feel free to message us.
Yes, message
Bye.
us.
Thanks.
Bye guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye.